If you were a long-time fan of Boogie2988 who had just woken up from a 6-year coma, you'd probably find yourself quite confused. Boogie has never been high art. He's a man of very little talent, but he had a good eye for marketing, networking, and search engine optimization. Back in the day, you would have no idea what video he'd be posting next. One day it could be a lengthy discussion about his morbid obesity, how he overcame it, providing words of wisdom and advice for those who are also struggling with the affliction. The very next day it could be a video of him outright demolishing a mango or advocating for consumer rights. He could even be posting a mailbag episode where he'd thank his fans from around the world for the support. Of course, there were also his Francis skits, which probably were his most famous. They were loud, bombastic, generally about some big gaming issue, and they really launched Boogie in popularity. Times, however, change. There's no denying that Boogie has changed, but of course, everyone changes. Well, unless you're DSP. I don't think anyone ever could say that Boogie's change has been for the better. As his sub count slowly creeps downwards and his viewer count rapidly falls, he's changed, and little shows it off better than looking at his most recent videos. Yeah, it's just a slice of his content, but for nearly a month's worth of content, it's quite telling. There are 3 videos dedicated to YouTube drama that's personally connected to him, 2 current affair videos, 3 videos detailing his sexcapades, 1 video connected to video gaming, 1 Francis video, 1 video of drawing attention to an embarrassing story about himself, and finally a video discussing his mental health. It would take too long to go through all 12 videos, but I'd like to focus on 3 in particular, with quick breakdowns of the old ones in between. My apologies to Ethan Klein, she was a feeder and wanted to feed me to death, and finally, why I'm glad I didn't unalive myself in 2019. I think these 3 sum up his content pretty well. One for the sexapades, one for his drama, and one's about him. So let's go through from oldest to newest, and just because of the nature of Boogie being Boogie, with his drama video I'm pretty much going to have to talk about all 3 together because Boogie really can't let drama lie and always has to keep twisting the knife. Ethan Klein is the host of the H3H3 podcast. Suddenly at the start of April he had to attend the hospital regarding some unknown medical issue, and Boogie decided to post this tweet.
So I tweeted this and didn't think twice about it. I said, apparently Ethan is in the hospital. I know a lot of people don't like this guy, but I really wish he would take better care of himself mentally and physically. Take it from someone who is bad at doing nothing. It leads to ruin and misery. So apparently this is very upsetting to Ethan for some reason. And if you think you know why, I want to see your guesses in the comment section below. Unless you're already informed on the situation, tell me why you think it was upsetting.
I had to unfollow him after this because I honestly just can't deal with seeing his tweets anymore. So if you're wondering why, look at this shit. He goes, apparently Ethan's in the hospital. I know a lot of people don't like this guy, but I really wish he'd take better care of himself. Dude he can't even wish someone well without sitting on the fence. He's like, I hope you live. He's like, I know a lot of people don't like him, but I hope he lives. It's like, can you not sit on a fucking fence when wishing someone well, at least? This is the first thing I see. I know a lot of people don't like this guy. Fuck you, dude. Dumbass. Such a weirdo. Why bother even tweeting that?
So I think it's pretty clear that Boogie's being deliberately insincere here. Ethan already stated what his issue was with the tweet, and Boogie's acting like he has no idea. I think just about anyone would roll their eyes at a tweet where apparently you're wishing someone well, but at the same time you're giving them a quick wee kick on the ground, and then also giving them unwanted advice. Boogie, of course, does his standard. He paints his motivation as being in the best possible light, which honestly is par for the course for Boogie at the minute.
Maybe I don't understand what fence sitting is, but saying, hey, even the people who are mad at Ethan, stop being an asshole and wish well for the guy. That's fence sitting? That to me seems like taking a side, and that seems like it's taking Ethan's side.
Boogie's tweet didn't include anything about him telling off the haters and how they all need to band together to wish Ethan well. Boogie didn't even wish him well. Boogie only wished that Ethan would sort out his health problems, which is kind of an awkward statement coming from a near 400-pound man who 2 weeks later would post about his suicidal thoughts. Boogie did get quite a bit of backlash for this tweet at least.
The other thing that I got a lot of criticism for was saying, who am I to be giving health advice, considering I haven't been taking that health advice myself. I'm in therapy, but I'm still very mentally ill. I'm physically very unfit. Like, obviously, I need to take my own advice here, right? I don't know about you, but if I wanted to learn about the dangers of heroin use, I would talk to a heroin addict. If I wanted to learn about the dangers of alcoholism, I would talk to an alcoholic.
This is a line that Boogie's been pushing repeatedly, and every single time he brings it up, he gets shot down. Getting advice from Boogie is like going up to a man who's repeatedly punching himself in the face, and the guy turns to you and says, hey, do you know what? Punching yourself in the face, Actually kind of hurts. Before going back to punching himself in the face again. Like, no shit, Sherlock. So I get this tweet. It's the perfect storm of both Boogie's spiteful personality and his delusion that he's actually a good person to listen to. But the problem is, Boogie's been doing this for about 12 to 14 years now on YouTube. He keeps giving terrible life advice to all these young people, and his life advice is clearly terrible because it's so bad that he can't even fix his own issues with it. I do agree on one thing though, he's not a fence sitter, but I'll get back to that a wee bit later on. Quite a bit of this part of the video is just Boogie talking about his issues in life and everything he's gone through, trying to reassure you that he's a really good person to take advice from. Obviously, I just explained that's absolutely nonsense, so you really shouldn't. The weird bit is, at one point he does backflip and he suddenly has a bit of a rant about Ethan, about how Ethan's recent actions have ruined his reputation, and Boogie didn't want that for Ethan because he loves him so much. It's a bit weird, but it's not really worth including. He does, however, double down on telling Ethan to improve himself in a way that's arguably more offensive than the actual tweet itself.
And unlike me, when it comes to me, I'm the only person that suffers when I fuck up. Ethan has a wife. Ethan has kids. He needs to take better care of his family. He needs to take better care of his health so that he can do a better job for the people that rely on him. That's my opinion. There's me completely off the fence. Ethan was very kind to me when I got to visit with him. He allowed me to do his show 3 times, and I think there's hardly anybody that's done his show 3 times. And I'm always going to be grateful for that, and I'm always going to be so grateful for his kindness, and it breaks my heart today to know that I've upset him. It really does. It's fucked me up. I don't know if you can tell the difference in this video and others because I'm pretty good at masking, but I mean, this has fucked me up, man.
You probably should realize that you're at a low point in your career when you're telling people, oh, by the way, guys, I hope you do notice that I am actually upset about this. Like, he's obviously not. He's being deliberately insincere. He's play acting. He's being spiteful, vindictive. He's not at all upset about this. However, if you look at his tweet chain that I'm putting up on screen here from the 20th of April, it's just him pretty much saying that Ethan actually is the bad guy and is so mean to Boogie and everything like that, which I want you to keep in mind for the next clip I'm about to show you. It's just Boogie being manipulative and just trying to play with your heartstrings. He's really being a terrible person here. Like, for example, we're 6 minutes into an 8-minute apology video, and so far there's been no apology, and it's all just been blaming Ethan and saying about how poor his life has been.
But why does it still hurt so bad? And I've been asking myself that since I discovered this an hour ago. And I think it's because I still love Ethan. I still respect Ethan. I still care about Ethan. And that's a character flaw in me, I think. If someone shows me human kindness, I hold on to that forever. Like, if you're nice to me once, just once, you can treat me like shit 1,000 times. And I'm still going to like you. And Ethan's never treated me like shit. Not even today.
So yeah, as quite clearly shown by the tweet there, he doesn't love Ethan right now. He's blaming him, saying fuck him, everything like that. So obviously Boogie is just seething and trying to cover it up. If you did love someone, if you did care about someone, I doubt you'd post such a spiteful tweet to begin with. Like, for example, if Boogie went to hospital tomorrow, I wouldn't post up something going, oh, do you know what? The trolls are going to love this. But I do hope he is okay, though. Because obviously that's just a blatantly terrible thing to say. Boogie did it deliberately, as I think it's pretty fucking clear. But yeah, this whole thing about how if you're nice to him once, he'll be nice to you forever thing's nonsense. Got Lucy Fox, the feeder lady we're about to talk about, his ex-wife, Ethan, the quartering, the list just goes on and on and on. His public blowouts are massive and everyone's heard about them at this point.
You know, so of course it hurts that Ethan is upset with me. I wish we could have talked about it. But instead I heard about it secondhand on Twitter, so I'm handling it the same way Ethan did. By using my platform, by using my audience, and discussing it this way. Instead of like adults, huh? So be the life of a YouTuber. That said, Ethan, I'm sorry that I upset you. I'm sorry that I addressed people that dislike you in that tweet. In fact, I'll just leave your name out of my mouth moving forward, okay? Whether you're sick, whether you're happy, whether you're well, whether you're mad, whether you're dead, I don't fuck it. Even when you die. You and me, done. We're done. Don't worry about it.
Look, if you're going to do a performance in your apology video, maybe be a good performer first. And this isn't the only performance I'm going to be covering in the videos I'll be discussing. But yeah, 40 seconds before the end of the video, we do get his apology. You know, the type of apology a 15-year-old girl will send her boyfriend during a breakup to try and manipulate him into apologizing as well. You know, I'm so sorry I cared. I'll just never talk about you again.
That said, can you do me the kindness of not punching down again? Could you do me the kindness of not using your 1 million+ audience to bring me even more fucking hate than I already have? Is that a thing you think you could do for me? Small favor to ask of a man who owes me no favors.
And there you go. One final dig in the ribs. Just after you do your apology. That's when I find it's best to do a wee sharp dig in the ribs. Just after I say sorry, I'm like, by the way, I'm sorry. By the way, you're a cunt. That's the best way to do it. But it's just Boogie. He's twisting the knife. He's just being a dickhead. But, first drama video done. Weird that I'm ending the first of 3 drama videos by saying he's never going to talk about Ethan again. So I guess we'll see how long that lasts.
But before I get started, a big warning here. Trigger warning, I should say. But though I don't mean it for any like softy liberals. I mean it for this group of people who get really upset when I talk about this stuff. In this video, I'm going to talk about my mental health. I'm going to talk about my history that led to this mental health issues. I'm not using it as an excuse, but I am explaining how it got to where I am. And believe it or not, there's people that just get really mad. They're like, Boogie, how dare you talk about yourself on your YouTube channel about things that happened to you? Why you gotta make it about yourself?
Boogie isn't a fence sitter. I'm just going to go right out and say it. He's not a fence sitter. He's spiteful, he's a coward, but he's not a fence sitter. He's the guy at the bar fight that hangs around near the side, and when he sees someone go down, he'll run in, give him a wee quick kick, and then he'll run away again. If he gets caught, well, he'll apologize profusely. I'm so sorry for doing it. I'll never do it again. And then he does it again. And for the whole trigger warning shite, look, no one cares about Boogie whining about his life. It's Boogie. It's to be expected. People criticize him because he makes everything about him. Gilbert Gottfried dies. Well, better throw up a video talking about how Gilbert Gottfried was once cancelled on Twitter. And did you know Boogie was cancelled on Twitter too? 9/11 happened? Well, did you know that Boogie's dad died of cancer that year? That just made things so much worse for him. Etika? Well, we'll get into Etika. So, yeah, this is just manipulating his audience. Look, if you can't successfully build yourself up to be the good guy, build the other side up to be irrationally evil. Always works.
Take, for example, this tweet that I made that offended Ethan Klein. Yesterday's video discusses that link, but in that video, I recognized the fact that a lot of people on my timeline do not like Ethan, but I still wished him well. And that really upset Ethan because he felt like I wasn't willing to commit to my love of Ethan Klein, but I was also trying to keep in mind the people on my timeline that dislike Ethan. And you know what? He's not wrong.
So yeah, he lasted about 24 hours and the story's already changed. Apparently Ethan is now upset that Boogie wouldn't shout his praises online whilst wishing him well, and this is why I say he's not a fence sitter. His tweet was outright negative. I don't see any positive in it. He brings up that Ethan has lots of people that don't like him. He says that Ethan needs to start taking care of himself. He says that he has had a hard life. There's no well-wishing in it. Boogie's just kicking Ethan when he's down, and the video afterwards confirms it. He's a vindictive person. He's just unhappy that the internet community as a whole has turned their back on him when he used to be a very big fish in a very small pond. Ethan was one of the few people that used to give him an audience of millions to talk to, and that's gone too now. Look, there are plenty of ways to respond to someone going to the hospital. You could outright ignore it because it's none of your business. You could message them privately to wish them well. You could post a message publicly to wish them well. You could openly celebrate them going to hospital. Boogie chose to celebrate it, but behind vaguely passive words. That's why I say he's vindictive and also a coward.
I didn't want to receive hate for supporting Ethan when he was sick. Sorry. And some people much smarter than me have said, well, Boogie, then you probably shouldn't have said anything at all. Just stay out of it. And that's the problem. Those people are smarter than me. I am not known for my intelligence.
Okay, look, Boogie is not a stupid person. You can dislike Boogie as much as you like, but he's not dumb. But he'll claim he's dumb, just when it's convenient. Because just like holding up his morbid obesity, his winning for your base, his abuse as a child, or his mental health issues, this is just a shield to him. You can't criticize me, guys. I'm dumb. Whoopsie. Made a mistake, Reno. Oopsie, I dumb. But he routinely boasts about reading medical studies, he boasts about building his own businesses, being one of the first people in the industry of web design, how he dropped out of his psychology course in university because they weren't teaching him quickly enough, and he just knew everything they were trying to teach him already. Hell, even when arguing with Frank Castle, he had to try and proclaim his intelligence.
I mean, so what the fuck?
I am much smarter than you.
Oh man, it's so sad that you're stupid enough to think that.
Didn't you lie about getting molested?
Only stupid.
Whoa.
A lot of his videos boring as well. He goes into Gamergate, which I don't really want to cover because Gamergate's just such a cluster of a topic, but you can already guess his opinion. Evil men tried to pick on women and try to harass them out of the community because they're just evil, but for some reason he did a neutral stance on it, trying to unite everyone and bring everyone together. He also claims his therapist told him that he's a fence sitter because he was abused as a child, which is just Boogie being Boogie.
The other reason I consider it a virtue is because I've been raised in the United States, and specifically I was born in 1974. So during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we were all under this stupid impression that if the Democrats worked together and the Republicans worked together and we found common ground, that's how the country would work, and that's how the country had worked for the last 200 years.
So yeah, apparently Boogie wasn't taught about the American Civil War, Watergate, the KKK, the assassination of Lincoln, assassination of Kennedy, Jim Crow, the Wild West. Look, Boogie only has this in, so you can try and blame current year for everyone turning on him. He wants to say 40 years ago when I learned how to be a fence sitter, everyone was so much nicer and more accepting. Look, Boogie was never a fence sitter. He always said his opinion and they were always stupid. Back in 2012 when Amanda Todd committed suicide, Boogie blamed the cops, her parents, her counselors, her therapists, her teachers, everyone. He barely even mentioned the guy blackmailing her. But when he got a little bit of pushback on it, he was like, oh yeah, I don't know what actually haven't really looked into, so I don't know what was actually done to help her, but if they didn't do those things, then it's definitely their fault. Look, words have consequences nowadays. Boogie couldn't start his career now because he would have got cancelled immediately.
But don't expect me to fight for everything. Don't expect me to pick an opinion or a side and everything. Like Keemstar, Ethan drama? No, that shit's beneath even me. That shit should be beneath those two. Now, something I saw on Twitter that I want to close with, a lot of people said this is me just deflecting. What was Ethan supposed to do? Is he not allowed to criticize you? Well, Ethan does know that I have a medically diagnosed anxiety disorder. I discussed it with him both in person and every time I was on his podcast. And I know he's a busy guy. He may not remember that about me, but it is kind of core to my brand. And I would much rather Ethan came to my house and slapped me across the face like he was Will Smith and I was Chris Rock than I would him decide to do all of this publicly. It'd be way easier for me to handle. And I think Ethan probably knew that. Maybe not.
So yeah, here we are, 2 videos out of 3 into this drama, but don't worry guys, this drama is so far below Boogie, you should just be ignoring it. But, I was kind of tempted to do a drinking game when I was watching the H3H3 podcast about Boogie. If you did take a shot every time Boogie says the phrase medically diagnosed, or as you know, I grew up in an abusive home, you'd probably even get me drunk and I'm fucking Irish. But this is just Boogie saying you have to be nice to him and always treat him with kid gloves. You can't call him out no matter how bad he is because he has the big sad guys. And this is spitefulness is also talking about Boogie's pretending to be a fence sitter because it suits him. Would you rather be called a fence sitter or manipulative? If he pretends to be a fence sitter, he can easily backpedal on anything he says, hold up his hands and go, hey guys, look, I was just trying to be neutral. I don't get what you're so upset about, because then it suits him. But it's so clear that that's not the case because he's so annoyed about this. He keeps going after Ethan over and over again. And this also leads me to another comparison. A couple of years ago, there was a guy called Monday and Matty ran a YouTube channel that covered video games, politics, and it had the odd funny skit in it. He was the eternal fence sitter. He liked to look at both sides. He claimed he was a centrist. He wanted to help people. He was a nice guy. He was just such a good guy, guys. But the problem was, as his channel slowly started to die, he showed his passive-aggressive side. As his passive-aggressive side came out, more and more people started to look into him. They started to find unsavory and funny things about him to laugh at. As more people laughed at him and took the piss out of him, he got more and more and more upset. As he got more upset, he started becoming more and more spiteful, and eventually he couldn't hide it anymore. You might think it sounds familiar because it is. Boogie and Matt are identical. They're both the eternal nice guy who eventually are starting to show their spiteful side because they just can't hide it anymore. Matt's channel died, Boogie's channel's a lot bigger, but it's heading that way. But yeah, back to Boogie's Drama Fest, but this time he weighs in Ethan's sponsors cancelling after backlash received due to one of his last podcasts.
When you build an audience on YouTube by criticizing others, by mocking others, by unfairly judging others, that audience will eventually judge you, right? And you better be damn sure that when they turn their laser pointer eye on you, that you are ready for it. And if I'm telling you, if you are not without sin, you shouldn't be casting those stones. I cultivated a very critical audience, right? I'm making fun of video games, making fun of myself, making fun of others, and talking about drama online. I'm cultivating a critical audience right now, and I know damn well that I will get judged for every little thing. I have been for years. And my thought process going into that is you can judge me all you want. I know that I'm a good person. My friends, my family, everybody else knows I'm a good person. That's not how the internet works. The internet will make shit up apply it to you, and then judge you for that. They will take your words, they will twist them, they'll do whatever the hell they want to with them to create some version of a straw man of you and then burn that straw man.
So in this video, Boogie's covering that Ethan lost a bunch of sponsors in regards to some controversial opinion that he said on some recent podcast. But in Boogie's mind, you cultivate a negative audience if you criticize others. But apparently, Boogie cultivated it by being a good person, having his words twisted, and having stuff made up about him. This is Boogie. Give him an inch, he'll take back a mile. Oh yes, I was criticized for insulting games, for insulting myself, by talking about people in regards to drama, but I'm good, everyone just made up stuff. Boogie claims anything he doesn't like is made up. It's part of his manipulation tactic. He's prone to trying to gaslight his audience. If you don't believe him, say negative things about him. You're the bad one. You're twisting things. He's always a good eye. For example,
it happened to me back in 2018. I was making good money. 2018 was my record year in the business, but then people didn't like the things I was saying. They didn't like the things I was doing. They took it out of context. They sent it to my sponsors. They made it out to be worse than it was, and I got dropped by almost all of my sponsors, leaving me to live off of YouTube ad revenue, which is still plenty.
Yes, back in 2019, Boogie did lose quite a lot of sponsors, just like Ethan lost now. The problem is, Ethan lost his immediately after this drama, and in 2019, Boogie was just a train wreck. He did so many publicly stupid things, he lost so many subscribers, so many viewers, you can't even just blame the trolls. But the thing is, this whole video is pointless. It's Boogie repeatedly pointing at Ethan saying, this is your fault, you should have seen this coming, you cultivated a bad audience, it's entirely your fault, this is your fault. But then he tries to pretend to fence it, and he points at himself and goes, oh, but I did it too. Yeah, I did it too. It was my fault too. Except it really wasn't my fault because everyone just lied about me and made up stuff and took stuff out of context. Which is why I said he's not a fence sitter. He's just using that as a shield. He will insult and complain about Ethan repeatedly and then quickly step back, put up a shield and say, oh, but me too, guys, I guess. Yep, I guess, me too. But also not really, because that's what he does. The whole drama in itself is really pointless and not even interesting because mainly it is just Ethan ignoring him. He only mentioned him once in that H3 podcast I showed. Boogie is just repeatedly throwing jabs, trying to get attention, and it's either because he's just so annoyed about the whole thing, he's being spiteful, or because he just wants rage clicks and he just wants to try and get a bit of a shout out from a bigger YouTuber. It's one of the two. But obviously, if you go to the comments section of his videos, you'll see exactly what I'm saying now, so why am I even making this video? Well, you won't, because he cultivates and curates and makes sure that his entire comment section is nice. It's kind of pathetic to see, honestly. But we'll just get into a couple of wee smaller ones here and then go on to one of the big videos again. Elden Ring's endgame kind of sucks. The only video game content in the entire last month, and it's solely jumping on the Elden Ring bandwagon. Super low effort, no gameplay even being shown. It's very obviously just for clicks and a couple dollars in ad revenue. Somehow it turned into the IRL version of the old IGN meme, 10 out of 10. It's okay. I tried to be a sugar daddy. God, I hope I'm not successful one day, so that's clipped out of context. But yeah, this story's been covered to death by loads of other YouTubers. If you want a bigger breakdown, go check any of them out. If I got my teeth in this, this would be 45 minutes longer, and I just really can't be arsed. But to sum it up as quick as possible, Boogie started boasting about dating a super hot 20-year-old cam girl. The girl eventually came forward, stated he was very abusive to her. Boogie, of course, denies it, says he was literally the best person ever, and how she was super hot and definitely not a prostitute. Okay, guys? Okay, guys, do you understand? Okay, guys, he was definitely not a fucking prostitute. She was so hot, though, and she definitely wanted to fuck him, but he had to keep buying her stuff, and if he didn't buy her stuff, she wouldn't fuck him, but definitely not a prostitute, and they were in love, and she definitely wasn't a prostitute, but she was so young and so fucking hot. Do you understand? Good. Okay, good. Glad we understand. But yeah, the whole thing was a cluster. It made Boogie look really bad, and probably was one of the biggest pieces in Jigsaw as to why his career totally died. This led me and Logan Paul to the same women, in brackets, sisters. Alright, so this is obvious clickbait and it's like an outstandingly fake story, but I love it because it's a mixture between his weird drama thing recently where he's taking jabs at larger YouTubers to try and get a wee bit of attention from them, and also the fact that he's in the throes of a very rough midlife crisis where he's desperately trying to convince his audience he's an alpha male who slays young pussy. So, in this story, Boogie travels to LA, matches with two girls on a sugar daddy website who look identical, both agree to meet him at the same time at his hotel for drinks, even though he doesn't drink. Turns out they're half sisters who like fooling around with each other and collecting YouTubers. He finds this out because they tell him that directly, because they show him pictures of them with Logan Paul, which is where the title comes from. They definitely wouldn't do that though if they're prostitutes, because that would just get them sued, so that's this whole thing stupid. But yeah, Boogie's apparently stunned that they knew he's a YouTuber, even though I'm pretty sure that's all he talks about, because that is all he has going for him in his life, and also the fact that his online profile has him with other YouTubers because he wants to get more attention because he's with Markiplier for some reason. But yeah, He's really trying to hammer out this sugar babies thing and how they're in relationships, which he did in the last episode. But it kind of takes away from it when he says he met these two girls together. So you're obviously not in a relationship, at his hotel for drinks for one night that he's in LA. So clearly they're either prostitutes or escorts. But the problem is Boogie doesn't want to admit that he has to pay young girls to sleep with him. He'd rather just try and act like an alpha male, and he's in really good relationships with them. So I don't know, I think it's quite funny. So the video starts off with OMG guys, you really were interested in that last video I posted up, the sex pest one, where I talk about fucking young hot girls? Oh, okay, I guess I'll have to upload another one, guys. Fine. So he starts off this video and the other two with a subtitle card, pretty much saying, if you're the person involved, don't sue me. It's been exaggerated for comedic effect, all that nonsense. In my opinion, it's less that and more for trolls, really, because he knows full well someone will come along to like his Lucy Fox video where everyone knows he's lying and point out, well, this is clearly made up, this is clearly bullshit, and then he can say, oh, well, that was a bit that was exaggerated for comedic effect, you obviously just didn't get it, as a shield. Like I said, Boogie's entire thing is having shields. He'll have as many shields as possible, be it mental health, obesity, lol, it was just a joke guy, lol, I'm Andy Kaufman guy, lol, I'm trolling the trolls, that kind of nonsense. It's all just shields to try and bring up so he always wins. Well, the reason I picked the feeder one over the other two is, well, firstly, the Logan Paul one is pure fiction, so it's not really interesting to talk about. The second one is because Lucy Fox has been talked about to death, as I already mentioned. At least with the feeder one, it hasn't been covered too much, but he has talked about it a fair bit in the past, so I think I can get a couple of things where it very obviously doesn't match up with each other. So, for example, we'll go in the description of this young lady that he fucked.
So the idea of being fucked to death by a beautiful woman who was also feeding me cheesecake sounded, chef's kiss, exactly the way I wanted to go. And whereas obviously I'm not going to show you a picture because I don't want to dox this poor young lady who made the mistake of dating me 20 years ago, I do want to say at the time she was one of the most beautiful women I'd ever dated. Probably was the most beautiful woman I ever dated. Skinny, petite body, tall, long hair, gorgeous, and you know what? Probably still one of the most beautiful women I've dated, if I'm being honest.
Oh, you met her?
To some extent. I mean,
Was she skinny?
pretty. She was pretty upright. Yeah, she was tiny. She's like 110 pounds. Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah, she's
that is the strangest.
One of the best looking girls I ever dated too.
How did that make you feel?
She was both a fat admirer, mainly she liked me big, and then wanted me bigger. She herself was very, very skinny, about 135 pounds when I met her, probably about 120 when we broke up, about 5'4", tiny little petite thing, like size 1 jeans, like ridiculousness.
So there you go, nothing overly damning. In the two videos since the start of his midlife crisis, he very quickly pointed out that she's the most beautiful woman who's ever existed, so she must be at least a 10 out of 10, because he's already told us he's been with 9 out of 10s before. So, described her as tall in one video and 5'4" in another video, which is clearly not tall. It's nothing major at all. I think the most telling thing, though, is that when he was a young spud back in 2010 making that Q&A, he was talking about her, and he didn't very quickly point out that she is the most beautiful person in the world. And he was more honest back then. He still was a horn dog, but he was honest at least, so I think that's quite telling.
Dude, how much did you weigh at the time?
I was about 550. Oh, I was close to 520.
That was like
she's a girl who got me up to 600.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she completely enabled you.
Yeah, she just like straight
up.
up, right? She's like, I want you to be so big. Like we moved in and we had this conversation, and she's like, I want you to be so big one day that you can't get out of bed. I want you to be so big one day that you're one of the biggest men on record.
What the fuck?
It's a huge sexual turn on for her.
I was going to ask, is sexual?
Very sexual.
Let me ask you if I can get, how does she get sexual gratification out of that?
I guess just the body type. Like she liked the softness of it.
But does
and
she
the
like
feel
get
of it,
off
and then,
in
yeah,
some way?
like straight like the feeding aspect is foreplay. Like dinner is foreplay. And she was pushing me to do stuff I had never done before. Like she was getting me back into the gym to try to stay fit, but also still fat. You know,
Because she wanted to
right?
fuck.
Because otherwise, right? And otherwise, you're going to get so fat that you won't be able to eat anymore. I want you to be able to always be able to knock it out, right? I want you to be able to just burn those calories.
Was she trying to kill you?
Yeah, that's
She wanted.
That's the deal. That's the deal with some feeders. Yeah.
And I gained in the time that we were together about 75, 80 pounds. I almost topped 600 pounds. And wow. I reached a certain size and I just spiked there. And in 2006, I was dating this girl who was what you call a feeder. And she liked big people and she wanted to make me bigger. So during the relationship, we ate a lot of food, and she was even putting like weight gain powder in my food and stuff. It was crazy.
Well, anyway, me and her broke up, and I was at my biggest. I was 587 pounds. It's the biggest I've ever been. And then I was about 450 pounds. By then, I became a shut-in, and I didn't leave the house for 7 years. And during that 7 years, I put on another 100 pounds, and that's how I got up to be about 550. And then I was once close to 600 because I was dating a girl who was a feeder who likes bigger guys and wants to make them bigger, you know. And so I put on even more weight.
This is the point I'm going towards. As Mark Twain and Judge Judy always say, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Because one minute he gains 100 pounds to get near 600. The next he started at 550. The next year was 520. The next year was 550 again. The next time he gained 70 pounds. Then it was 80 pounds. You know, this is all kind of minor stuff. I'm not even really ripping on him here. This is the lighthearted section. But, you know, the things like he said in the H3 podcast where he said she was forcing him to go to the gym, apart from that would be obviously counterintuitive to him gaining weight, so I don't know why he didn't even include that because it's so off kilter. But he just kind of makes up a lot of stuff and adds to the story every single time he tells it. And these aren't even the worst example. I'm keeping these like the really minor, silly little examples that he can't even get right.
And then we moved in together for a while, and then I got sick. I got like an infection in my leg, which is like real frequent. I get in with the lymphedema all the time. And I'm like, I gotta go to the hospital. And she's like, they're gonna make you lose weight. And I'm like, no, that's going to be fine. I've gone before. She goes, if you go to the hospital, we're done. And I'm like, wow. What? No, what? Fuck you. Okay, we're done. Like, I'm not going to die. Like, I literally, she's like, you're faking the infection. I'm like, how do you fake an infection?
So what happened? How did the relationship end?
I ended up going to the hospital that night, and she went and stayed in a hotel.
Wow.
And then, like, we talked it out or whatever. I'm like, look, if you move back in, this is my body. This is my choice. I decided what to do. And then, like, that Friday, she's, like, off work, and she's like, I'm coming home tonight. And I'm like, awesome. And she's like, let's go out to dinner. And I'm like, great, there's this Chinese place I've always wanted to take you. And she goes, no, we need to go to a buffet.
Were you YouTubing at this time?
No. This is 2005, 2006. So she's like, you need to go to a buffet. And I'm like, I don't want to go to a buffet. I want to take you to this Chinese place. So you do real life stuff. I'm like, no, we either go to a buffet or we're done. I'm like, okay, when you get here, your shit will be on the lawn. When she got there, her shit was on the lawn. I called a couple of friends over, they put her shit on the lawn.
Wow.
It definitely negatively impacted my mental, physical health in every way. And eventually we had to part because I could not handle what she was doing and the way she felt. So I explained to her that I wasn't going to gain anymore, that I was most likely going to lose weight. She went crazy, and then I asked her to separate for a while to try to work things out, and we were never able to work things out, bottom line.
So in order to make it to the emergency room, I did what made sense to my brain at the time, which was swallow the majority of a bottle of aspirin and then call 911 and tell them that I had taken too much aspirin. And then when I got home, she was gone, which was good because I had finally grown a spine and decided that I wanted her gone. So when we talked on the phone and she was in her hotel, I explained to her that this lifestyle was over, that my weight was my issue. She still wanted to be with me. She could, but I had a pretty strong suspicion she wouldn't want to be. She told me that she would come home on one condition: if I would take her out to a buffet and eat really good to make it up for her. To which I told her I'd like to take her to someplace else that doesn't have a buffet and that she'll like it very much. And she said, nope, it's a buffet or nothing. I said, if you say the word buffet again, when you get here, your shit will be on the lawn. She said, buffet, buffet, buffet. And I hung up and called a couple of friends. And by God, by the time she got there, her shit was packed up. It was raining, so I didn't put it out on the lawn. But by God, I put it out on the porch. She's like, you did that on purpose. I'm like, how do I give myself an infection on purpose? What do you think I'm doing? Like rubbing bacon on a wound? Like, what the fuck? She's like, you're fucking crazy. I'm done with you. I'm like, I'm the crazy one. You're the one who talks to like a spirit. She was really crazy. It was a pretty crazy girl.
It's when the story gets crazier that the whole thing kind of breaks down. Like on the H3 podcast, he more or less tells the same story, but at the end, they have a couple of days where they try and work it out. On his old Q&A from 2010, he says that he wanted to lose weight. That caused her to go crazy and then them to break up. On his own video, he took a bottle of aspirin to give himself an excuse to go to the hospital. You know, even though he had the infected leg, which was the excuse to go to the hospital in the first place, so obviously he just added that to the emo. On PKA, she broke up with him because he wanted to go to the hospital and because a ghost told her to. Oh yeah, he mentions this ghost thing on PKA and his own video. In other accountings, he doesn't mention it whatsoever. It's just kind of all over the place. In PKA, the ghost has much more of a like prominent feature. But yeah, the whole idea that he moved her stuff out is also silly because at this point in Boogie's life, he was either unemployed or on disability, and she was bringing in all the money. So effectively he just kicked her out of her own house, I guess. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. There's more stories too, but I don't really want to include everything. Like, for example, in PKA, he claims that she used to cut him up with a razor and cover herself in his blood and had a fetish for popping zits. He doesn't bring up anywhere else though, so I'm guessing that's purely fictional. Now, the whole feeder thing is probably based on the truth, but it just gets more and more insane and unbelievable with each retelling because Boogie has to keep twisting it to try and make it more and more interesting to get him a wee bit more attention. I do find it fascinating though that it's always this story he goes back to, and that's why I say I don't think Boogie actually has that much sexual experience. He claims he's been with so many girls even before his ex-wife, but if you were, then why is it always this story? It's just not right. So, why is my body so embarrassing? It's just a story where a doctor once mistook him for a woman because his testosterone levels are so low. It's a story he told a million times before. This one's just a wee bit more exaggerated with really, really fucking annoying voices of the doctor, so skip it because, you know, it's shite. The next one is Muskbot Twitter. Look, even for the sake of making this video here, this was a struggle to sit through. Boogie himself even says he's literally just making this for views, and it's such a boring take with such a cookie cutter opinion. Even it performed poorly compared to everything else. At least in the past, when Boogie used to make these kind of like current event things, it was on the Aurora shooting, Sandy Hook, 9/11. It was that kind of stuff, and usually his opinion was so stupid it was a wee bit entertaining. This is just, some guy bought Twitter. Yeah, okay. The last video was Francis has a mukbang. It's Boogie's grand return to the Francis character, which coincidentally happened alongside him getting the ability to accept direct monetary donations through YouTube. That's a good coincidence, isn't it? So yeah, apparently if he's having a mukbang, he's not. Boogie's at that point in the Boogie cycle right now where he's claiming he's dieting again, so he's scared of the backlash if he did eat too much. So instead, he just has 3 sips of spicy Mountain Dew, 1 packet of hot Cheetos, and 2 spoonfuls of ice cream. The whole video is way, way too long for how little content there is of him actually eating in it. It's just a desperate plea for money, and it's about 5 years late for the mukbang trend, so it's just Boogie being Boogie. The last video I said I was going to talk to you guys about is going to be the deepest one, probably the longest section of it. It's the why I'm glad I didn't unalive myself in 2019. If I'm being honest with you guys, whilst I was editing this video, it's run on so much longer than I thought it would, and the unalive video is probably going to be at least another 20 to 30 minutes by itself because I found so much extra information, and I really don't want to rush this video or make my first video back to YouTube over an hour long because that's a bit of a pill to swallow if you're only new to my channel, so I wouldn't want to do that to anyone. So yeah, this mini was for a test. I wanted to try and work out my skills, find out how my editing software works again, everything like that. I haven't done a YouTube video in quite a wee while, so I wanted to try and get everything sorted out. Yeah, if you do have any feedback or information, or if I messed up anything in the video, if I got any information wrong, stick a wee comment below. Honestly, the video might be a wee bit rough because, like I said, it's my first one back, and I am sorry for that. If there's anything glaringly wrong with it, obviously stick a wee comment down below just to help me out. If you did like it, though, hit the like button, subscribe. I'm going to do all the shill stuff now, especially if you're interested in me kind of carrying on this. I want to do the on a live video because I've already done all the research for it, so I would like to do that, and I think it'd be interesting. And this is only meant to be like a day or two project, kind of in the middle of me doing like a large review of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City that I've pretty much got all planned out and all the stuff kind of gathered for it. So I think that's going to be a fun one, but who knows? I'm not even finished the script yet, but we'll try and get it done as soon as possible. But I want to say thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it this far, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too jank a video. I want you to have a good one. Take care. Hey there, guys. I know I just left, but there's been a bit of a development, so I thought I should quickly stick us on at the end. Boogie's announced himself in a boxing match, I think it is, with Sam Hyde, who you might know as annoying iDubbbz recently. He's done a documentary about that. This is part of a larger feud between a guy called Ethan Ralph of the Killstream and Andy Worski, who used to be part of the Killstream, but now is part of the Kino Casino, which is a separate thing with a guy called PvP. It's all a bit of a mess. So I thought I should get a bit of background because I know a lot of people probably won't follow this and probably won't have any idea where this came from. So Ethan Ralph and Andy Worski used to be really good friends, used to live together, all that malarkey. About, I don't know, 5-6 months ago they suddenly had a big falling out and it's gone nuts since then. So Ralph calls Worski Cokeski because Cokeski takes coke, but Ralph also takes coke, so I don't get it. Worski hates Ralph because Ralph flags people. Worski also flags people, so I don't get it. I'm just joking. There's a lot of history between these two. Honestly, it goes back years and years and years. So it probably would require quite a bit of explaining to try and gather this all together for anyone unknown to the situation. And if it's still going on, next time I upload a video, I might actually do a bit more of an in-depth breakdown for it. But the thing is, there's no way this is going on. For years and years and years, the internet blood sports community, which these guys are all a part of, always challenge each other to in real life fights anytime they have a rivalry or a fight that gets a wee bit out of hand, and they never once have happened. And in my opinion, Boogie, who is not connected to any of these people, has been brought in as a scapegoat. Because Boogie is never going to do it. He might be tweeting that he's getting a personal trainer and everything like that. It is never going to happen. Boogie will drop out. Boogie 100% will drop out. And one of the two people, more than likely Ralph, because Ralph is near 400 pounds himself, and Andy Worski actually trained in MMA for a while for one of the previous fights, and is quite a fit guy. Ralph will use as an excuse to drop out. So once Boogie drops out, Ralph will drop out. But like I said, if it's still happening, next time I make a video, I will do an in-depth breakdown and try and help you guys out. Yeah, it's a cluster and it's silly, but Boogie got more likes than he's had in about 3 years, so I guess congratulations to Boogie. Hopefully he'll do it if people keep liking his tweets, so get out there, boys, you know what to do. Alright, I'm done. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.